how they can keep safe. We discuss various hazards, vulnerabilities, the risk associated with these, and we want to interact with you, the public, so that you can get involved in the process, the planning process, how you will respond, and how you can mitigate the effects of these natural disasters on your lives. Today, I have another guest with me, but before I let her introduce herself, I just would like to say good morning to the staff of the Ministry of National Security and Legal Affairs, and also to the dedicated team at the Office of Disaster Management. Today, we are going to one of our sectors, one of the key sectors in Dominica, to discuss preparedness and planning around the hurricane season. And we know we can suffer from other threats besides just tropical storms and hurricanes. And so my guest will be here to help you, the farmers, to better prepare and plan for the season that we are currently in. So without further ado, I'll let her introduce herself.
Hello, good morning to our listening public, and thank you, ODM, for inviting the Ministry of Agriculture to this program where we get the opportunity to educate farmers and the listening public as to how to prepare for the season. I am Miranda Laura Stevenson, Technical Officer of the Extension Unit in the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Blue and Green Economy. Our ministry is made up of three parts: admin, fisheries, and crop and livestock production, which would make the division of agriculture.
Okay. So we're hoping to have another program. Today we're hoping to have Ministry of the Division of Fisheries with us. However, circumstances beyond everyone's control, they won't be with us, so they will have their own day to talk to the fisher folks on how they can get prepared. And so today we'll just focus on the extension services and livestock. Crop and livestock. Okay. Yes. So if you would like to just give the listening public just an idea, you gave us the breakdown of what the ministry is made up of, but an idea on some of the services that your particular divisions within the agricultural ministry provides.
Okay, the division of agriculture is broad. There's the farmer outreach arm, which is the extension unit. So they are the ones responsible for implementing programs with farmers and livestock officers, livestock farmers. We have, besides the extension unit, there's the service part of the division. There's the plant protection and quarantine unit. They're responsible for not border control, but managing invasive species, detecting pest and disease problem, and making recommendations for solutions for those problems among the farming population. They also do monitoring of pest populations. So there's the plant protection and quarantine unit. There's the livestock department or the livestock unit, where they are responsible for catering for the livestock production on our island. We don't eat a meal without protein, and therefore livestock department is also critical, because besides carbohydrates we need, and vegetables and fruits, we also need meat or fish. That is the protein component of our meal to keep us healthy. And so they are responsible for taking care of, one, production, two, developing pastures and so on, local foods for livestock, and three, in case there's a medical emergency within the livestock population, where there is a cow or goat or sheep, and providing general guidance to livestock farmers on production practices.
Okay.
And then there is also the produce chemist lab. Oh my, it's a very small unit, almost 1 person, 2 persons. And that unit is responsible for guiding new agro processors that seek our help, product development standards, food safety standards, and those things. And they're also responsible for pesticides. They also that's where the pesticide board is housed. Our produce chemist, Miss Seraphine, is the head of the pesticide board in Dominica. And there are extension officers who are also pesticide inspectors. So in case of they would go out to input suppliers, make sure that the pesticides they sell are registered, make sure that none
Okay.
is expired and redundant, and if there is need for, like if a pesticide is expired and the store or the vendor doesn't know how to get rid of it, then they could
Okay.
always call the pesticide board, because you don't want to they just discard hazardous elements into the natural environment. There is a protocol of how it should be done. So in that area of knowledge, um, new persons enter into that venture needs to contact the pesticide boards so they can know the standards operation of dealing with those
Set of
hazardous
chemicals.
yes chemicals, and how to guide their users as well.
Okay.
So that's in bulk, and then we also have the administrative part where you have the secretaries and the cashiers and the persons responsible for doing admin components. So we sort of broad ministry.
Yeah, that's a lot in one ministry, and we didn't even speak about the fisheries aspect of
No,
it.
no, no. The fisheries will come in on their own. They're
Yes.
division by themselves. So
Yes.
those units I spoke about, they're housed as part of
This
division of agriculture.
Imagine that.
So there's the ministry, and the ministry is broken down into two divisions: fisheries division, agricultural division, and inside of agricultural division there are many units.
Yes.
So you have the extension unit, you have the plant protection and quarantine unit, the produce chemist, and livestock unit.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. So I learned something this morning about I knew there was a produce chemist lab, but I didn't understand the large scale of the work that they do in that small unit,
Yes.
like you said. Yeah. So having given all this background, we know that we are in the hurricane season, and the Office of Disaster Management is here to provide the tips on preparedness, give the farmers an idea of how they can go about planning, some of the key things that you'd want them to do. So if you'd like to give us an idea of how it is on a local, regional, international scale, does your organization work with other entities in preparedness for disaster response?
Yes, sure, of course. Farmers, there are lots of organizations working with agriculture as it relates to rural prosperity, rural development, farmers, and in the rural spaces mostly, predominantly you'll find farmers and fisher folks. So the ministry has been working with FAO to develop different risk and hazards and disaster preparedness. So it's not just like you indicated, weather related or hurricane and storm related, but in other preparedness. We also work with CADI and ICA. We work with WUSC. Yeah, we work with WUSC. We work with the World Food Program. So there are lots of international, and UNDP, of course. So there are lots of international programs that have come on with us to help us, basically, some of them to guide us in developing a proper preparedness plan, and some of them come in to help after or post disaster. So each of them have their different function. And FAO was very instrumental in helping us develop what we call early warning systems. I'd also like to say thank you to UNDP too for touching out in certain communities to develop certain early warning systems. So preparedness for agriculture it's a different tier. So you have the farmer tier. Well, the farmer would have his household, right? And then his business or his entity, which is the farm, or whether it's an agro-processing facility. So it could be a fishing or a livestock enterprise. So that's another preparations level. So home, farm or enterprise, and then you also have staff.
Okay, if we have anybody employed.
Yes, and then your staff within the ministry, how they prepare themselves, and then you have the office, because we have 7 regional offices where farmers reach out from the country is broken down into 7 regions. So you have the north, northeast, east, southeast, south, central, and west. And each of those regions have their offices. So that's where farmers can go in and interact with officers, as well as request officers to interact with them. So it goes both ways, and we want to encourage both ways. So it's not always the extension going out to officers, but also farmers can come into the office and request interaction with their officers. So we have those seven regional offices and office that we have to prepare as well, or they have to do the preparedness plan. So there's different levels, and then at the ministry level now, besides staff, how do we prepare in case a disaster come, and how do we, there's so much like, okay, we have the farmers, right? And after disaster, farming is vulnerable. It's one of the most vulnerable enterprises.
Very much so.
And it's vulnerable to wind, flood, pest and disease, and anything can happen at any time, and it can also be localized. So one region may be isolated based on the situation, whether it's a flood and the bridge wash away. Like, take for instance, typically Casper's River overflows Bong, and Good Hope Petit Soufriere will be out of touch, So it could be localized or it could be national, and we have to prepare for that in terms of crop damage, crop assessments, educating and preparing the extension officers and livestock officers that work with the farmers to conduct those assessments. How do we calculate it in terms of what is the formula used? FAO has provided guidance in terms of assessing damage versus destroyed. How do you cost it? And also, before the hurricane season, like right about now, in the beginning, it's really hot. Like, it's really, there's so much to do, because in the event that something happened, you want to make sure that all the things are in place, like your forms for collecting information, your registry of farmers, your has to be updated. How you inform the officers or how you instruct the officers to gather the information. Usually the standard procedure is, once an all care is given, we should go out and start to assess. Currently, there's new technologies developing as time goes, and currently we have 5 officers who's doing drone piloting, a training complement FAO. So it was paid for by FAO. So we have 5 officers doing drone piloting. So it's kind of, because people, our country, it's hills and valleys, ruggedness, riverbeds, and after disaster, based on the destruction that happened, it may be hard to access physically. And even if you have a vehicle, you may still have to wait till public works clear the road, or clear crossing over.
But then even getting to those farms is not easy work, because some of them are off road. The
not
roads there on
far. And people farm where they have land. You cannot tell everybody to farm close. So people farm where they have land, and we try to reach everybody as possible. So FAO, realizing post-Maria, realizing climate change, the increasing risk and the possibility of hazards for weather systems, they've trained 5 pilots. So currently they're in advanced training. So yes, and they have also, under that very same project, it's a DRM project, or disaster risk management project. Under that same project, they have given us drones for the ministry. I think the ministry now has 4 drones from FAO, 5 pilots and 2 analysts.
The analysts are important.
The analysts they are responsible for analyzing the images that is picked up from the drone and interpreting it in relevance to what the pictograph or the pictures captured. So basically, the drone will provide an easy reach to plenty farmers within a short time, so you can give a rapid assessment. So the objective is, we are not there yet, and we are hoping to get there soon. The objective is pre-hurricane season, which we are vulnerable to. The pilots would go out and fly, capture images of the farming, the different farming localities around the island. And if in the event that something happens, they now will fly again because
To get those
yes,
new images
to
after
get those
impact.
images so you can layer them and see the level of destruction and the clarity of the images they are collecting and will be collecting is you can actually count the number of plants.
Wow.
Yes, so we're hoping to reach that level with our drone unit as well as our analysts to make sure we represent the farmers' information as accurately as possible. After a major event, we have everybody coming and say they have 1 tree, 2 trees, despite the genuine and authentic and bona fide farmers. You always have other people coming in, and so we have to have those levels defined before the season starts, so we can gather the appropriate information.
Yeah. So I was just going to say, even with all this technology, you still have persons on the ground to verify the information.
Yes,
so
the officers
you
will
still
be on
have
the ground.
the
Yes.
officers on the
Yes.
ground that beforehand they can say, yes, this farmer has this, and so the analyst can say, okay, we go correct with this information. So it's verifiable data.
Yes, it's verifiable, and
that's
the
important.
officers on the ground most times they do a good job. All the time they do a good job. Because sometimes you cannot always know everybody who's operating in a land space. I mean, some people do not reside where they farm. And the days you're in that locality, they may not be there. But you're seeing activities happening. Or if you see a strange, after the event, somebody come and they claiming certain production in a specific locality or specific farming area, we would always, and if we are not familiar with them, we always verify by asking other persons who farm in that area, are you aware of this person? Do you know if they have lands there? So there are many different ways of verifying the information and the persons who come to register. Make a claim, as the local farmers would say. They come to make a claim in the office.
But then, as agriculture, you all have a registered farmers list. But then, do you encourage persons to register ahead of register their farms, register their information, so that you haven't got to go asking so many persons if they're really farming in this area? It makes it easier for you. So we are also calling the farmers out there to take a step forward, take the initiative, register with Ministry of Agriculture, so that they don't have to go and do all this investigation to verify if you really lost crops, if your claim is legitimate.
And the authenticity of the information. Well, some farmers take it on their own and come in before the season, and they would come and tell you, I come to register what I have. And they will bring their list of all what they have established in their fields at the moment. Some may not, but I think with time, more people are coming forward and bringing their list of establishment prior, like now or soon. You will find an influx of farmers coming and do it in some offices. Not all. In some offices, some farmers are proactive. And also after the Musa species, which is the plantains, the bananas, the cocoa, and so on, they are one of the most vulnerable crops to wind. So
and we don't even have to get a storm for those to be in danger.
Sometimes it could be a trough, and then there's just heavy rain and a certain degree of wind, of heavy winds, and based on your locality you may have a loss. So that is another area where persons with bananas and plantains who are very vulnerable to wind, they should try to tie their bananas, what we call stake it kind of, and their plantains. And around that time, also because of the planting season, in the early parts of the hurricane season, like June, July, you have a peak of plantains and bananas coming in. So before
they tend to try and get it out before the wind in August.
But it doesn't. Sometimes the wind doesn't always come in August or September.
No, we cannot determine exactly when the wind
July
comes
as well. So prior to anytime you listen to the radio and you hear of upcoming events and or wind, expected wind, we recommend that the farmers doing those crops, bananas and plantain, whatever they have that is marketable or harvestable, they should harvest because it will fall. Try to get it out or sell it
before the
yes,
the
before the
peak
storm.
season.
Yes,
Okay, so
yes.
but what are some of the, well, in just as to stick with what you just said, that means the farmers need to follow the Met Office. They need to listen to
Yes,
what the Met Office
yes,
has to
yes.
say, because just last weekend we would have seen that we would have had some high winds overnight.
Mm-hmm.
So if they follow with at least that every day, they listen to
Mhm.
what the Met Office has to say. Like you said, they can know, okay, we're expecting wind. Let me do some quick work to help stabilize the plants that I do have,
Yes,
because they're not quite
yes,
ready for the
yes.
market.
Right, right. And let me just I didn't say we work with the ODM and the Met unit, but we do. We have worked in several projects with them,
Yeah.
especially the ones under UNDP, under what we call the PISCA program or the
Mhm.
PISCA project. It was teaching the farmers to interpret weather information,
Mhm.
as well as helping them to do analysis on their farm. And the Met Office was an integral partner in that project, where they would come us and show the
Mhm.
farmers patterns and trends and what they have to be alerted for, how they interpret weather information when
Mhm.
they hear it, should they be concerned, like how they really interpret
Mhm.
this information to make decisions on their farm.
For the best.
Yes, for the best. Yes, for the best
I
results.
remember there was a time where, well, even now, you all have even points where at certain times of year you recommend specific crops to help minimize losses. So during hurricane season, you would encourage those who can do root crops to do root crops. That's one of the things that came off from that
Yes.
project.
So yes, correct. And it's not just for livelihood, but also for food security.
Yeah.
Because Maria is our benchmark.
Yes, it is. Everybody would remember
yes,
Maria.
it's our benchmark, and people have to remember at that time even root crops flew and left the farm.
Yes.
So during the season, we tend to encourage the farmers and even those doing it on a subsistent level to have a little space where they put their potatoes and cassava, in case that their farm get destroyed or roads get destroyed, or they cannot participate in trade, that they have something
For themselves.
to feed their families,
themselves,
because food security at those times is critical.
yeah. Exactly.
And livestock farmers, they may lose housing
Mhm.
and their animals go astray. What didn't die do die, but
Mhm.
they may have to call some of the animals. So please have an extra 2 or 3 pounds of salt, like now, the same way you have your canned foods and your biscuits and your water and your matches and your solar lights and all the normal preparation for a family. If you are involved in livestock production, or you have a pig or a goat or something that may be affected by this storm, during those times normally you don't have electricity to store. So the next alternative is going back to tradition and do your
Mhm.
smoked meats.
Into the
Salt
smoke.
them up, salt them as a preservatives. So make sure you buy sufficient salt and have it in stock, the same way as you have your creeks and your
Crackers and your matches and your
yes, your matches
flashlights.
and your flashlight and your
Mhm.
canned foods waiting, so in case your animal die and you have to preserve it quickly for your own family and for your own food security, you have some salt there so that you can do some smoked meat or smoked fish, or even the meat you have on your fridge. When
Yes,
there's no
that's one of-
electricity, or if the electricity is
be
cut
able
off
to-
for a week, if
Yeah.
you don't dry it or you don't prepare it in a way where you can conserve it without
Mhm. You have to
electricity,
dump it.
it's waste.
Yeah.
Your finances, your resources go to waste. So you have to prepare yourself as a household for those kinds of things.
Yeah. And so I was just coming to some of the preparedness tips that you would normally provide to your livestock farmers. We discussed a few things that you all have had trainings with the different groups in terms of what to do, how to understand the weather. So like you said, for livestock farmers, you just told them, have some salt. That's something I tell persons
But
on a
families,
day-to-day
yes.
on their family, in their
Yes,
preparedness.
mhm.
Always ensure that they have salt, because you will have meat on your freezer and you want to keep it preserved, you have to smoke it because otherwise, like you said, it's useless. So,
Yes.
any other reminders? I know you all have several different reading material and publications that farmers and can come to your office for. Is it located at the different offices or is it at the main office to access the different preparedness materials that you all have?
Okay, before we move on to having material, we haven't talked about preparedness at the farm level yet.
No. So that's why I said you all have the material so they can get to that point. But we can discuss that before if they can come to get the material so they can prepare. So some of the tips on a farm level for them.
Yes. So the farmer, as a household, should take the normal preparation plan that ODM speaks about, that they advise about. But on a farm level, they have to prepare a little differently.
Yeah.
So every farmer would know how where he has his farm, how weather behaves with the land during those
He's
period,
interacting,
whether
yeah.
he's in a flood zone, whether he's on a hillside, whether he's in a river area where the river, when it overflowed boundaries, would flood
Flood
the
out,
area.
yeah.
Yes. So farmers have to prepare differently based on where their farm is located. But the general preparedness is you clean all drains, so you allow for easy flow of excess water during those seasons. You cut all branches around your home and around your investment, your livestock units, your piggery or your poultry pens. You cut all branches, you make sure that the drains are clear, so in case of anything, there's no flooding in your pens, especially for poultry, and where they have to use sawdust
To keep it dry.
yes, to keep it dry. Yes,
Yeah.
so you make sure that your pens are strengthened during those times, however way you can.
Reinforce, yeah.
Yeah, reinforce it, strengthened however way you can. If there's like the wind direction, if water is coming through, maybe you should cover with a tarpaulin or some sort of shelter so that the pen don't get wet and the animals are safe. You cut all branches that or trees around your pen that could either fall or cause you to lose your pen during those times, especially if the tree is not something of great value to you.
Yes.
Yes, sometimes you have wild tree growing. So if the tree is of not of a great value to you, you cut it down. If it's going to increase your hazard or increase your risk of
Damage.
losing your pen or damaging your crops or something, you clear off your drains. You listen to your radio, the advisory, the advisory,
Listen to the weather report.
yes, given by the meteorologists, and based on what they say, if you have crops close to harvest, you harvest and try to get them up for sale as soon as
Okay,
possible. So in case there is disruption in transport or roads get blocked, that's off your hand. You don't have to worry about that. So livestock farmers, you have to get at least food supply for a week for your chicken and
Okay, 1 week.
yes, at least a week. So in case the supply chain is disrupted, whether it's at regional level or local level or even community level, that you have food to feed the birds and the
Okay.
pigs, because they are dependent on you, and that's how you feed them. So you have extra supply of food, you have extra supply of medicine. So livestock in itself have their own medications.
Yes.
Yes,
I'm
it's-
taking note because sometimes for us we can tell humans to have at least minimum 3 days, but for the animals you all are encouraging 1 week, which is good.
Yes.
Which is good. So their medication, their food,
Yes.
even water, because some
Yeah,
areas you have
yes.
to make sure the water is
Well,
clean.
yes, of course, you have to make sure you give them clean water. Although they are a little more resilient than us. Well, capturing rainwater and using it can be utilized as well.
Okay.
So
At least ensure the water, the
Yes.
rainwater, so some sort of backup water
yeah,
supply
some sort
is
of backup
available.
and clean water too.
Yeah.
Yes, for the animals you have. So you cater for that because that's your livelihood, and after disasters or disruption, in your livelihood, you want to bounce back as soon as possible. So
Yeah.
you have to think about those things just the same way as you're thinking of your family and
Yeah.
the safety of your family, because after the safety of your family is your livelihood, the continuation of your livelihood, how you bounce back, how you start generating income to continue the
Mhm.
journey of life.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, that's like you said, there's for the farmers, they have more than one set of preparedness. They have
Yeah.
their home, then
Yeah.
they have their business,
Yes.
and how they return to normalcy
Right.
after that.
And then we also have the agro processors,
yes.
and that one is a little different. The preparation is a little different because
Okay.
the investment is a lot. The same thing like livestock, where the housing investment is a lot, the
Mhm.
feed investment is a lot, even the livestock themselves is a lot. But the agro processors as well, they have a lot of investment. They have equipment, machinery, they have structures, and they have to try to um, reduce the risk of them losing or their equipment or structures being destroyed or damaged during hurricane or disasters. And the same preparation that you go for your house, clean all drains, cut all branches, strengthen your structure. If you have glass windows, you put borders and
Mhm.
stronger material that in case there's a flying object and it run into the window, it doesn't break, because if it break, then a lot of the equipment either
Yeah.
motorized or operate from
Yeah.
electricity, and you know water and electricity are not compatible.
Mhm.
So you have to prepare, secure. Once you hear the advisory from the Met Office, secure your facilities, secure your equipment, and not just the electrical equipment, but also all their basins, their tools, whether it's electrical or not. You have to safeguard those things, because after, when not life becomes normal again, you want to operate, you want to get back
Yeah.
into business, so you have to make an effort to secure your production tools.
Yeah. It's important.
Yes.
That's important. And so, like you said, it takes effort to plan.
Yes.
It's not something that is going to happen
Mhm.
overnight. You have to actually sit down and create those sort of plans. So, just a question: does Ministry of Agriculture provide those sort of training in terms of planning or business continuity planning or preparedness planning for the especially the agro processors and the livestock farms, where they do training to help the farmers and these ones entrepreneurs to know how they should go about preparing for those sort of risks?
We haven't really done that with the agro processors. I mean, we mentioned it, but
Mm-hmm.
on a one-on-one, we reach out to them,
Mm-hmm.
and those we know that we work with.
Okay.
But it's something we have to do, and it's something that we need to do. So moving forward, we are including it into our in our
Okay.
preparation plan. So it's not just the livestock farmer, the crop farmer, but also the agro processors, because agro processing falls
Mm-hmm.
after it's processed and it becomes trade. So it's off our hands, but
It's still there.
but yes, so all the production level is
Mm-hmm.
is ours to prepare and take care of.
Well, for entrepreneurs, I think that they themselves can reach out. I know Israel Aid offers those sort of trainings. That they actually have one coming up soon. So if there are any of the entrepreneurs that want to do business continuity planning, you could check out Israel's Facebook page. They have a post where they actually doing business continuity planning, helping you to assess risk and hazards and to plan so that you can be able to minimize your risk or to help you to return to normalcy, like you say, quicker. What do you do? How do you go about creating those plans and getting them implemented for you to be able to bounce back quickly?
Okay, great. That's good information for
Yes.
the agro processor, and even for the farmers. No
Yeah.
matter what enterprise you're in,
Yeah.
knowledge is knowledge. It's very useful, and they're offering it without a cost. So of course,
Yeah.
everybody who can should participate
Yeah.
or seek to participate in
I
those
agree.
trainings.
And that's where the Office of Disaster is here to assist the different sectors, because we cannot do it on our own, and each sector needs support somewhere. some way or the
Yes.
other. It's a interconnected chain. So if we know where these trainings are available, then we can direct persons towards these. And it's important because helping them to minimize their risk is a, a decrease on
Yes.
the national how much the
Yes.
national level
The
has to provide.
loss, the loss, and
the,
the rebuilding efforts.
exactly. So
Yes. So if everybody can take responsibility and reduce their risk, that would be very good for the country on a whole overall.
yeah. So anywhere you can direct persons. The ministry have a Facebook page, websites, and so besides coming into your office, where else can they access information?
Okay, so yes, the ministry has a Facebook page.
Okay.
It's active, very active.
All right.
So we hope to include all those information on our
Mhm.
Facebook page. Everybody know our communication officer, Miss Petra Grail Shillingford. She's an well known within the farming population.
Everybody know
Yes,
Miss
everybody knows Petra. So she operates the Facebook page, and you can get information from there. Also, I'm not sure. You can also access information on Ministry of Agriculture on the
Okay.
government
The
website.
Okay.
But I am not sure if
Might
it
take
would
you to the
yes,
other
yes,
information
yes, right to
sites.
the
Yeah.
other information site. Correct. Yes, and of course you can always reach out to our regional offices.
Mhm.
Every farmer working in their different areas in the country, hopefully they should know their regional offices number and contact information and their extension officers. So at the
Okay.
end of the program, we'll provide you with, for
Yeah.
reinforcement,
Yes.
we'll provide the information
Sure.
therein.
Okay. So it has been a lot of information. I hope it wasn't too overwhelming. We have just a few minutes left. If anybody listening wants to call in, the number is 1-800-327 or 448-3284. We have a few minutes that you could ask your questions to Mrs. Stevenson to get some feedback on how you can actually reach out and get assistance with planning, preparedness. If you're still unsure of what to do, then like she said, we'll go through the numbers in a few minutes of how persons can actually contact their regional offices and to get that additional information. So just before we wrap up, any final tips that you want to give to the farmers listening?
Okay, farmers and persons involved in the agri sector, listen to your radio, be aware of what is happening, take the upward or lead in terms of getting your family prepared, your farm prepared, and we as a ministry, we are preparing on our level to
Mhm.
capture your information
Yeah,
and to make sure that everybody information is in.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah, all those who are farmers, that your information is in before the season. So in the event that something happen, we have an idea as to what is the destruction rate and the damage, what damage that was suffered.
Yeah.
And tree crop farmers as well. Sometimes tree crops are a little more resilient than some of the other crops, but of
Mhm.
course, Maria proved that
Every,
everything was vulnerable.
Category 5, everything is
Everything is vulnerable.
Yeah.
And not often that we lose tree crops under storms or troughs.
Mhm.
So but there are sometimes there are landslides,
Mhm.
and some farmers do lose animals and they do
Yeah.
lose tree crops.
Yeah.
So also include your tree crop population when you
in
come.
your
Yes,
assessments.
yeah. When you come to bring in your info, as well as we will be asking the officers to take the whole farm information.
Okay.
Yes, and one thing we forget to mention though, like areas that are very vulnerable and their livestock, that they should release the livestock during those times. So in case of dangers in those localities, the
Mhm.
livestock whether it's a cow
Fend
or
for
a sheep
themselves.
or goat, yes, that they can move to safer areas independently. Especially those who tether or tie,
Mm-hmm.
move from place to place tying.
Mm-hmm.
If you know that you tie your animal in a vulnerable area, make sure you release the animal or get the animal away from that area
Mm-hmm.
when you know the weather system is going to act up. Take for instance, well, I worked a lot in the Castlebrooks area before I
Before you
became
move to
technical officer.
yes.
So you know
Yeah,
the
experience.
stretch.
Yes, that area is always
Yes,
prone to flooding.
it's prone to flooding, and the cattle population there is a bit. It used to be high, but during those times, a lot of animals die. They either get washed away by the flood, or they they j- they drown, and even if their
Mhm.
body remain, but they're
Mhm.
not live.
They're not able to move
Yes,
because they're tied.
they're not able to move because they're tied. So farmers that know they tie their animals in vulnerable areas, remember to go and untie them or go and secure them to higher lands
Okay.
during those times.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to point that out.
Yes, that's important. So that's part of their planning process of what they do with the animals
Mm-hmm.
before or ahead of a weather system, whether it be
Yes.
extreme rain or whether it be a storm or hurricane. So
Mhm.
you'd like to go through some of the phone numbers that they can contact, persons can contact
Sure.
the regional
First-
offices or the officers at, so that they can take note of it.
Okay, so Central and South farmers, your office is at the DBMC building, and you can call 266-3994. The East farmers, your office is at Castlebrooks Farmers Service Center. You can call 266-4210. The West farmers, you can call 266-4589. The Southeast farmers, your office is at the Lapland Training Center. You can call 266-4818. And the North farmers, your office is at the 1 Mile complex, and you can call 266-4415. The Northeast farmers, your office is at the Londonderry, and you can call 266-3108. So those are the regional offices that farmers can reach out to access information as well as giving information.
Give information, yes.
Yes.
So it's not just come in and get information. The Ministry of Agriculture also wants to hear from you what it is that you have. And so later on, when they're doing assessments, they can have an idea of what is on the ground, how it was damaged, what was lost, and so forth. So it's a two-way street.
Yes.
And take the initiative to come in and get the information on preparedness, so you can plan to keep your livelihood active even despite an impact.
Yes, and thank you for encouraging that as well and promoting. Yes, information always goes two ways, and it's better when it goes two ways than in one direction.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Mrs.
We come to the
Stevenson.
end?
Yes, we're almost to the end. That was a that was
I
a quick
didn't-
45 minutes.
Yes, it was, and I didn't think we would have spoken for
For
such
all
a
that
long time.
Yes, but there was a lot of information, and I'm pretty sure the farmers and the extension persons and the agro-processors would have picked up that there's more to offer at Ministry of Agriculture, so they can reach out for any assistance that they need.
Yes,
And
for
also,
sure.
yes, the Office of Disaster Management is here to support you all. And also for those interested, there are other agencies who provide training on business continuity that if you feel you'd be benefit from it, you could reach out. One of the agencies is Israel Dominica. They have a Facebook page. You could go there and you will see the information on how you can register for that sort of training.
Yes, thank you, and we will promote that Israel is facilitating training in business continuity and reducing risk in your
Yes,
enterprise.
yes, they are.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you to all our listeners. We hope that this show was a benefit to you this morning. Next week, we'll have a different guest, and hopefully in the next few weeks, the Fisheries Division will be able to participate. And we look forward to building resilience as a nation, but that starts with individuals, families, and then communities. So let's work together to build this nation. Thank you and
Okay.
have a good day.
Thank you, ODM, and thank you, DBS, for allowing the Ministry of Agriculture to be represented on this program. A lot of our population is engaged or actively participating in the agricultural sector. So, those who are listening, I hope you all take the information and start preparing because the season is long. It's almost six. How long is the season?
It's normally 6 months, but you can have a weather system in and out of the hurricane season.
Okay. All right. So, everyone, please be prepared as you move forward. You never know what's going to happen. So, early warnings, and prepare yourself based on the early warning systems that
Yes.
you have. Yes. So, take care of prepare your home, prepare your farm, and have for those livestock persons with meat. Prepare remember to buy your salt.
Stock up on the salt in case you need to preserve
Yes.
some meat.
Yes, preserve some meat. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Janelle,
You're
for having
welcome.
me.
Thank you, Miranda. All right.
Okay, let's see. Batteries, flashlight, canned foods, bottled water, teddy bear.